Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next session. I'm Andrew Gaffney. I'm Editorial Director with Demand Gen Report. I'm really glad you could join us for the next session in the Strategy and Planning series. We've got a good one. Worked with Mark and his team at Drift on several sessions in our past webinar series, and they're always one of the most highly rated sessions. Obviously, they're growing really rapidly and got some really interesting approach and perspectives on this topic, which is skyrocket your revenue with a best-in-class digital buying journey. Everyone out there knows how pervasive and dominant digital has become this year. There's no physical events right now. Most of us are still working from home, and really the only way to engage your audience is digital. So it's really critical to get it right. And we've got some great content for you to share on how to do that. Quick reminder, the session is this whole series is being presented by Demand Gen Report. If you're not already taking advantage of our content, we'd love for you to join our more than 75,000 subscribers. You can do that at demandgenreport.com. Also encourage you to check out our social media groups, which are on Twitter and LinkedIn. Our LinkedIn group, Demand Gen Specialists, has some great posts and conversations around topics like today's. Quick reminder, too, we recently wrapped up our B2B Sales and Marketing Exchange. Had some great content. It's still available on demand, so I encourage you to go back and check that out and view sessions, topics like today's. Also, I'm hoping a bunch of you took advantage of the partnership we have with Grubhub. So each day, 50 lucky attendees, we're going to score a free lunch as they're watching their sessions. You look for an email from corporate support at Grubhub to go ahead and fulfill your order. So hoping you are one of the folks that took advantage of that. If not, look out for it tomorrow. Quick reminder and sort of housekeeping, our session here is planning to go for around 30 or 40 minutes. We'd love for you to type in any questions you have as they come to mind. You can do it right within the Q&A tab. We'll save the questions for the end, but go ahead and post them. If we don't get to your questions, I'll ask our speakers to follow up with folks directly. Also, you can see in the bottom right corner, there's an area where you can download some related resources on today's topic. You can monitor social media right within the platform, and you can also check out the agenda for other sessions. One of the frequently asked questions we do get is the session is being recorded, so all registrants will get a link to go back and review this content or share it with their peers. So without further ado, let me introduce today's speakers. I mentioned I've had the good fortune of working with Mark Kilens, who's a VP of Content and Community at Drift. Mark, his team teaches people how to transform how businesses buy from businesses with conversational marketing and sales. Prior to his current role at Drift, Mark was VP and founder of HubSpot Academy, so he's got pretty good street cred. He built the HubSpot Academy from the ground up, and in doing so has educated millions of people and created a best-in-class hub of marketing and sales education, so really glad to have Mark back. Mark's going to be joined by Kate Adams, who's VP of Marketing at Drift. Kate is passionate about aligning marketing with sales and product teams in order to create fully integrated marketing campaigns across all platforms to maximize both revenue and growth. She strives to bring businesses and brands to life in the hearts and minds of prospects and customers by creating and delivering valuable, compelling content for each stage within the customer lifecycle, which we're going to be covering here today. So really excited to get started. Kate and Mark, let me turn it over to you to get us going.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much. And everybody, it's such a pleasure to be here with you today for Skyrocket Your Revenue with Best-in-Class Digital Buying Journey. Mark, my partner in crime, how are you, my friend?
I am doing very well, Kate. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm even better now that we get to talk about one of my favorite topics. And so we've got a jam-packed full agenda today. So let's jump into it, shall we? So for the agenda today, we're going to cover, number one, why digital transformation matters. Number two, how marketing's role has changed in the buying journey. Number three, how to build relationships online that create the same experience as in person. You could say same. I would actually even assert better experience as in person than in person. And then lastly, how to align across channels to impact the customer's experience. So Mark, let's jump in, shall we?
Let's go. 97%, Kate.
97%. So 97% of what? So this is this was an amazing study done by our friends at Twilio, where they interviewed 2,500 enterprise companies, specifically enterprise marketers, and asked them, how has the COVID-19 pandemic sped up digital transformation, or has it sped up the digital transformation in your organization? And crazy, Mark, 97% of people said yes.
It is really interesting when you think about it from two lenses too, Kate. And I know you're going to talk about this next number, which is shocking as well. Digital transformation, like you and I think of it from like the marketing perspective. I think today, we're going to talk about it from another perspective, which is sales. It's really twofold.
Yeah, it's the entire buying journey, right? And that's exactly why we talked about it's not just from a marketer's perspective, it's the entire buying journey, because it's not about marketing or sales. It's about how are your customers buying from you, right? But not only that, Mark, but then they went on, our friends at Twilio went on to say, like, okay, great. For those folks where this pandemic has sped up digital transformation, how much do you think it sped up digital transformation? And at the time that this report came out, we were 6 months into this pandemic, and those folks said it has sped up their digital transformation by 6 years, which is absolutely astounding. So not only have we lived through an absolute crazy health crisis, right, and dealt with the stress of that, not only have we then moved all of our businesses digital to digitally and transferred all of our team's work to be completely digital, but we've also now digitized our entire customer experience and lived 6 years of work in a 6-month period.
Yeah, we've all felt it. Like, yeah, 100%. And what's interesting about digital transformation to me is it's such a self-inflicted thing that we've done to ourselves as people at businesses that sell to other businesses, that serve other businesses. It's really just because we've created so much bloat in our like marketing and sales technology stacks, and just in our like tech stacks over time. There's all these legacy tools, all these things that are going to require us to have to change things, do security reviews, get budget, change workflows, yada, yada, yada. But now, because of COVID, you have to make the changes. You had to make the changes if you already have, because it's a customer-centric problem. Like, it's like you have no choice, Kate. Yeah. you can keep putting it off a little bit, but now if you want to keep growing your revenue, you have to change how you sell and how you market.
I love that, Mark. And not only that, right, but the question is, why do you have to? And this staff from McKinsey tells you exactly why you have to, right? In terms of, and if you just look at the right side of this chart here, in terms of what people are talking about, digital interactions with a rep has gone from 38% to 53% since COVID-19. And online chat has gone up by 23% overall, from 40% to 49% during COVID-19. And so when you think about, well, is it really a have to? Like, yes, this is that customer data that's coming back to you and saying, this is how people want to interact, right? This is how people are demanding to interact with you, which is fundamentally different overall. Absolutely, right? Okay, Mark, here's another stat, right? Another quick one. And this speaks to the why. But 99% of business buyers claim they will make a purchase in an end-to-end digital self-serve model, with the vast majority very comfortable spending $50,000 or more online.
It's shocking to me, Kate.
I saw this and I actually couldn't believe it. I fact-checked our own fact-checkers here, right, in terms of, and I said, I don't believe this. Please triple check this. I think they checked it 5 times. This is absolutely true. And because when I'm a bit old school, right? When I see end-to-end digital self-serve model, I think it's high transaction, low dollar, right? Like high transaction volume, low dollar, and people will spend small amounts of money, full end-to-end digital self-service, right? As in like, I'll put my credit card in. But this is no joke. This is $50,000 or more. So you think you know, but you don't, right? And guess again.
The thing on this stat, Kate, that we'll talk a lot more about over the next 30 minutes that I think everyone should write down right now is you need to examine the interactions that are not even just critical, but the interactions your customers are experiencing from start to finish as they buy something and even as they renew something. Like, if you haven't looked at that, this stat just verifies that you must do that. And you probably need to be doing that now every 6 to 12 months at a minimum, I would think.
Yeah, if not more often, right? And
yeah.
There's the old school mentality of that, of like in the retail world, they would call that secret shopper, right? You go in as a secret shopper in the retail location and have an experience and understand where that experience is. You need to be secret shopping your own website all of the time, right? Probably on a quarterly basis. And then you need to be secret shopping your competitors so that you can understand what their flow is and what the differentiation is between yours and theirs, right? How are you,
100%.
how
This
keeping
stat,
up?
No, sorry. I was just going to say the stat is like 100% to your point about experience. You will win now based off of your buying experience. Like that's it.
Yeah. Earlier, Mark, you talked about it's not just about marketing, it's about sales, right? And this graphic here, which the animations always fascinate me, but this graphic here shows exactly how much, somebody posted this on LinkedIn, I talked about how much sales is being affected. Mark, you want to talk us through like acceleration of revenue here and how sales is changing?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Kate. I mean, at the end of the day, you and I both know the friction that is involved when you have to travel. Just so much friction and so much, I don't know, pain for both you and, say, the environment. If you're conscientious about the environment. And this is kind of showing that as an enterprise sales cycle would unfold in the pre-COVID world, you're doing these demos. A lot of them are on site. You have to find times to schedule a call. You might have to do a dinner, go to an event. You have to do all these things that, just exacerbate the sales process. And it takes longer and longer to actually execute it, especially if you're selling into multiple buying groups within a company. Now, because everyone is forced to, and I don't want to say forced, I don't think forced is the right word, has the opportunity, right? It has the opportunity to sell through a digital only experience. You're going to be doing many different things. And this is the stuff that we're going to be talking about with you all over the next, 25 or so minutes. You're going to be doing things where instead of doing an on-site demo, you're going to make sure that your content, your messaging, your website, to your point, Kate, is spot on and people can self-service themselves. And we've always heard the stat, what is it, Kate? 80% of the buying cycle is done before anyone reaches out to sales? It's
complete before you ever talk to somebody, right? And there's various stats around there. I think it's 74% is the latest from Forrester, but 74, and this was pre-COVID. This was a pre-COVID stat. So you can only imagine where we are in terms of how that has accelerated itself. But like this graphic really depicts it so well, which is like, this is happening before they even speak to you. And really this graphic, all it does is show what happens after they speak to you, right? So much of this process has been done before. And so now what you can see is like, instead of on-site visit 1, on-site visit 2, and then a proposal, and then all these things, like on-site visits are tough, right? Because why? Well, because you had to make sure that everybody was going to be in the same location or get them all to the same location and coordinate schedules. You don't have to do that anymore. I can be on a call in San Francisco in 1 minute and in the next minute be on a call with London, and then the next minute be on a call with Australia. It's no longer the case that we have to worry about travel schedules. And so this expedition of this process and the acceleration of this process is compounded. And I'll tell you right now, Mark, I don't think that the end of this pandemic is going to pull this line out even further so that we're back on this gray line timeline. We're going to have all gotten used to this. This will be really the new normal, and nobody's going to want to go back to that slow, drawn out process.
Two things before we move on to the next slide, because it builds upon this. You're 100% right. This is showing the sell from anywhere movement and those habits that are being ingrained. You can sell from anywhere. You can work from anywhere. So you can sell from anywhere. And the sellers and marketers who embrace the idea of signals, buying signals, and being able to act quickly on those buying signals. And there's a whole slew of them. That is, I think, what the pink is also showing as well. And you can use that to your advantage as a seller.
Yeah, so true, Mark. And let's dig in there, right? Because here's more stats from McKinsey. They did such an amazing job summarizing these key data points around what's really going on as it relates to what's happening in this pandemic environment. But here you can see in this red box, right, that we've highlighted both for SMB and for enterprise companies that live chat is on the rise. Crazy amounts. It's actually grown 112% in small to medium businesses and 90% in enterprise businesses. Again, this is like validating that real-time messaging is the most preferred channel. Like, if you take anything away from this entire presentation, what I hope that you will take away from it is that you don't have to do this because Mark and Kate are telling you that this is a best practice, or because Mark and Kate work for a company that helps with this digital transformation process. Why I want you to do that is because this is what your customers are telling you. This is what they are saying. And so you need to react to your customers, right?
Spot on. And I even think the next slide, which is the last slide that, or the last data point and slide that really brings us to life, 'cause you're spot on, Kate, is so interesting. Again, this is not me and Kate. This is 70 to 80% of the B2B decision makers that McKinsey looked at in this study would rather have remote human interactions or digital self-service. Like 70 to 80%. And at the bottom of that, it's like, why do they want that? Ease of scheduling, to your point earlier, Kate. Savings on travel expenses. Of course, your CFO is going to love that as well. And then just safety. I also think it's a quality of life thing too, Kate, a little bit here too, that maybe is not brought out, but I know I'm spending more time with my family, the people that are really close to me, and that's nice. I mean, there are some disadvantages, but like at the end of the day, my habit patterns have been changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It changed a ton. And you're right. I think some of that personal preference is in ease of scheduling, is nested within ease of scheduling, because it can be both more easily done personally as well as professionally. But couldn't agree with you more, Mark. But the question really is, but where does 6 years actually take us? Where are we headed? And for us, I know we've studied this a lot, and this is what we've talked about a ton at Drift, where how we see marketing is really changing. But to Mark's point earlier, it's not just about how marketing is changing. It's about how marketing and sales are changing. And so we think about this as, before the 2000s, we were really in a brand era. And the best analogy for that, that people I think can identify with most, is really around that Mad Men, right? It was back in the day when it was, you were really just thinking about what's the hottest slogan, what's the great song, what's going to grab eyeballs and attention. And that was great and really fun, or it looks really fun, at least on that series. But then we moved into the demand gen era, right? Because why? Because boards, CEOs, all of these folks wanted to understand, like, wow, marketing's really doing cool, awesome stuff. And it's really valuable. How do we measure the impact of it? So if I don't invest those dollars there, then what happens? And what they came up with was this demand gen era, which is, we were in between 2010 and 2019. And it was really where we got used to this kind of initial digital assimilation, right? And really digging in and getting used to more digital flows. But the key component to this era is really being measured on leads, right? So it was a question of how am I going to measure the output of all that marketing does? And the answer was really around, we're going to measure them on the number of leads. And so it's that great quote, right? That's like, show me how I'm measured and I'll show you how I act. And so for many, many marketers, not because they're bad people or they want to do bad things, they're measured on leads. So they went and did the work to fill up their CRMs with leads. And in fact, they filled up their acronyms with more acronyms. We went to work and started filling up our CRMs and our MAPs, right, with MQLs and SQLs and inquiries and all those things. And so that is what we got. And so then we had this time where it was a bunch of finger pointing, where marketers were saying, like, look, sales never follows up with my leads, so no wonder I'm not making as big of an impact. And sales is saying, like, yeah, great marketing, you're generating all these leads that are useless and they're terrible quality. Like, give me a tenth of these and I could actually a tenth that are higher quality. And so then he got into this infighting between quantity and quality. And that really brings us to where we are today, Mark, right? The revenue era, which is, it's not just assimilation to digital, it's full on adoption. Digital used to be the thing that would drive them to another thing. It used to be the channel where you drive people to a field event, and the thing was an in-person event. Or it was the channel that you would use them to drive to maybe an in-person conference. Guess what? That's gone, right? Our friends in the EU today are in shutdown. UK has entered their second week in shutdown, right? And so that's kind of where we are. So it's not just assimilation, it's complete adoption. It's all that we have. And instead of being measured by leads, it's really about being measured by lifetime value. And notice that that's not measured by revenue, right? It's measured by revenue across the entire lifetime, because you can't just stop thinking about that your job as a marketer and a salesperson is done once that contract is signed. Once that contract is signed, it is your job to get that person to adopt, to understand the value, and then to start to grow that account out even more, to consume even more of what you're selling, and to widen the adoption across the entire organization, and then to also buy complementary tools that you may sell to that point solution that they bought the first time. And so it's not just about that one sale, it's about all of the sales that somebody will make across their entire lifetime.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I think the next couple of slides talk about this, and we'll go through it. It's the transition from like the business being in complete control of everything, which is like the brand era, to then the complete transformation where the customer has complete control over everything. And we've done other, webinars, I think even with DGR on this, Kate, and there's many reasons for that. But because the customer is in complete control, you better maximize the ways in which you can deliver value to them, both pre and post sale, if you want to have a shot of increasing lifetime value over time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Mark, who wins in the revenue era, right? And surprise, surprise, we have some more stats, because Mark, there's nothing you and I like to do more than educate people so that they can make smart decisions, and that they hopefully leave every session that they spend with us smarter coming out than how they came in. And so here's a bunch of stats on why personalization is the gold standard in customer experience. And these stats come to us straight out of a Salesforce study, our own studies, and there's also some studies from further studies from McKinsey in here. But Mark, you want to walk us through the stats on why personalization is the gold standard here?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it goes back to whoever puts the customer at the center of the marketing and sales efforts is going to be the best at it, and is going to generate the most revenue. I mean, it's if you look at these stats, right, 71% of customers expect companies to act with them in real time. That comes from Salesforce. That's another validation of what we talked about before, with the rise of real-time messaging being the preferred way B2B buyers want to buy. Like it's the majority now. Real time is a key, I think, in that one. Next one comes from Drift. 46% of customers expect a response within 5 seconds or less with a chatbot. And that's not live chat, Kate. That's like a chat bot that can get someone, a human, to another live human. But no, this is just a chat bot that has to be snappy, has to be personal, has to be helpful, has to be trusted. And like, you need to act quickly in that regard. And that comes from the latest State of Conversational Marketing, our 2020 research. That's brand new. Next, 73% of customers expect brands to understand their needs and expectations. This one is super important, Kate. You and I have been talking about this for a long time with Trisha, our CMO. Empathy, empathetic marketing, most important thing going on right now, and probably will be for the longest time. That speaks to that, and the brands need to really understand the customer and be responsive. And then finally, Salesforce, again, 64% of customers expect tailored experiences based on past interactions. Goes back to the point we talked about with signals and looking at the past behaviors of people and using that to personalize the experience in real time. At the end of the day, Kate, you know, you and I have had decades of experience in marketing, which is, I guess, okay, fine to say. But these things we know drive.
Mark, I think I lost you there for a second, but I'll pick it up. So I think what Mark was going to say is that these are actually driving revenue, right? And so, and this is what is actually, again, don't do this because it's what Mark and I said. You need to do this because this is what your customers are saying. This is what they are expecting. So let's go forward, right? Businesses that miss the mark on customer experience and personalization, they have a ton to lose. 74% of people switch brands if the buying process is too difficult, right? 74%. If they just perceive your process as being too difficult, nobody is coming to you so that they can do more work. They are coming to you because they have problems and they need your solutions. So you have to help with that, right? 5 to 15% increase in revenue from companies that personalize their buying experience. 5 to 15% increase in revenue when you personalize your experience. So many people will tell you this, right? That it's just not good enough. It happens to us every day, right? Everybody who's on the line, raise your hand right now if you have been a victim of outreach that you know is just a batch and blast, right? It's just a complete batch and blast in terms of exactly like it's not relevant to you. In fact, maybe they've even shown that they haven't done any research on your company, but they don't know who you are. They don't know what your problems are, right? You can tell that. You can sniff that out from a mile away. That is really the key problem there. Mark, you're back. Glad to have you back, my friend.
I apologize. You know, I get these internet blimps sometimes.
That's okay. That's okay. And then lastly, up to 50% reduction in acquisition costs for companies that personalize their buying experience. And so why is that important? Well, let me tell you, I don't know a ton of people that are seeing astronomical growth in their marketing budgets as they look ahead into fiscal year 22 or calendar year 21, right? Nobody's coming to me, at least not that I've spoken to, and saying like, hey, Kate, guess what? They just doubled my marketing budget next year and I have no idea how I'm going to put this much money to work. That's just not the case, right? Maybe you're getting a little increase, but you always know that one of the key levers that you can do for yourself from a marketing perspective is to get more out of the dollars that you already have. And I don't know of a better way to do that other than to reduce your acquisition costs by 50% through using personalization and creating a better buying experience. But Mark,
yeah, I mean, marketing budget typically grows about 10, maybe 20% if you're lucky, but the sales revenue targets grow by 30 to 50%. So
yeah.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. So the long and short of it, Mark, is that marketing is getting pulled down this funnel, right? And sales is getting really pulled up all the way. Talk to me about that.
I think this is highlighted based off of those fantastic stats you just shared with everyone. Sales is about building a personal relationship. So you're personalizing that experience for the buyers that are involved in that sale. What we just said is marketing needs to do the same thing, right? So marketing now needs to become and think a little bit more like sales. And on the sales side, right, sales today, just like what McKinsey said, it's about engaging buyers faster, in more real time, when they're interested, when they're showing expressed intent on the website. So that means they got to move up. Like if someone's engaging with a piece of content, Kate, like we have the MQL is dead. It's one of the top assets we have at Drift. If our sales team, if someone on the sales team sees someone engaging with the MQL is dead, which has driven a tremendous amount of revenue for the business, you would hope, I would hope that they're going to jump into that kind of conversation in real time because there's some type of pain or need, right, Kate?
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Mark. I mean, absolutely. So, and sales is constantly saying like, look, just give me some more at bats, like give me some more opportunities to speak with people. This is exactly it. Let's speak with them when they're at their point of highest intent ever. So, Mark, let's talk about what won't cut it anymore, though. What definitely is not going to cut it is this: a poorly designed journey that hurts your overall customer experience, right? This is the process today. We expect people to see one of our advertisements that's not personalized to them. This is generic ad on whatever channel they are on. We expect that then they're going to click on that ad, get to a landing page, complete lack of personalization, not a lot of engagement there. Guess what? Oh my gosh. Customer, thank you so much for clicking on my ad and wanting to learn more about me. And it's to say thank you for doing that. I'd love to present you with this form of 10 fields of information that you can give to me, right? Like that is backwards. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We give them the form. From there, we're going to send them a thank you email, and then we're going to put acronyms in our acronyms. We're going to kick off our CRM routing processes. And guess what? What's happening on the other side of that? Customers sitting around waiting. I was the crazy person who actually filled out your form, who was so desperate to speak to you. And then I'm sitting around waiting for somebody on your sales development team to want to reach out to me. To look at my firmographic and demographic data that's in your CRM and say, yeah, I guess it's about time I got back to Mark, right?
Mm-hmm. That right there is the linear version of a micro type interaction that happens, right? And it's very optimized for the business, and it used to kind of work okay when the businesses had all the control, but it still was just okay. It wasn't that great, wasn't that effective. And the conversion rates for that experience are continuing to go down, right? Because of everyone's using it, and now customers are fed up with it, and they have all the control, more options, whatever. This view, the buying journey, still is linear. So I think, we got to caution everyone, the buying journey is never linear, but this is zoomed out. This is the macro experience that someone is going to be going through when buying. And when we talk about the touch points and the interactions that are happening, how can you assume? You can't, number one. So you can't assume that someone who is researching isn't close to buying. But the business processes we've put in place make that assumption. And it's fundamentally flawed, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, right, but we just assume things based on where they are. But you have all of this data and insight into these people, right? You know how many times they've come back to your site. You know what they read before what they're currently reading. You can make some educated guesses about where they are, not just based on the page that they're currently on your website. And how are you really making sure that you're personalizing based on that? So don't think about personalization as oh, cool, I'm going to throw this F name token into my email, and that's personalization, right? That's not personalization. Personalization is based on who I am, where I work, what geo I'm in, but also what phase of this buying journey am I in? Am I in this top phase of engage, or am I really down here and around justification, where I understand the problems that you can solve for me? I buy that you can actually solve them for me, but now I've got to go to my manager. I've got to go justify this investment. How can I do that? And the things that you say to people at these different phases are very, very different. Then you're going to talk to somebody very differently at the justification stage than you are at the education stage. You're going to talk to somebody very differently at the expansion phase than you are going to talk to them when they're at their evaluation stage. Those are very, very different things. But somehow we think that one size fits all is the way to go, right? But foundationally, Mark, the biggest thing is here, right, is around getting it right really means delivering on what buyers value most, right? It's transparency plus expertise equals trust. And I can't overstate this enough. This is a big thing that I know that we're hitting home with our team on here at Drift. But like, look, the reality is this, is that all B2B buying today is based on trust, is based on relationships. And you don't have a relationship if you do not have trust, right? And so if you're transparent, if you're knowledgeable, if you're curious around how you can help people solve their problems, you can start to build that trust with people and build that relationship.
And I think the real timeness of what digital allows you to do now, and the personalization that digital allows you to do, because you have all of the data, like you said, Kate, and you have the ability to react quickly because of that data, and finally connect someone at your business to that person who's engaging in one of your digital channels or on your website. All of those three things can help you accelerate the time it takes to create trust and deepen trust. And that's the point, I think, of the whole thing today. It's like you have to be obsessed about how are you growing these relationships with your customers across the buying, the customer lifecycle, the buying journey slide that Kate just shared.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the reality, Mark. The reality is this, that 80% of brands believe that they deliver this amazing experience to their customers. They're so proud of it. They're so blown away by their own work, right? They have a bias for what they're delivering. But the reality is, Mark, the customers said that only 8% of customers actually deliver on a superior experience. 8%. Really? It's I've never kind of seen such mismatched data there.
That is very, very sad. 10x difference.
Absolutely. Mark, you want to talk to us about how we think about this across all the channels now?
Yeah, I was hinting at it just before. It's about focusing on this experience, both on the channels or assets you own. So email is a channel that you own, your website is a channel that you own, but there's a lot of channels that you don't own, right? You rent in some ways, right? You could do anything from content syndication is kind of in between, but you could say social media, right? That's a channel that you really have to be active on in today, no question. Review sites, you got to be active on that stuff, right? And I just think when it comes to thinking truly omni-channel, it's about then connecting a few dots together. There's a few dots together. So I think, Kate, we want to show people in practice some of the very actionable things you can maybe go do right now. So you mind pulling me forward to the next? Yeah, let's look at the next slide here. Perfect. You use this framework. I use this framework all the time with our teams. A good marketer, Kate, what do we always start with? The who.
You start with who, right? I think this is the underlying thing that I think ABM set out to solve for. That really the underlying problem was that marketing's issue was that you just weren't focused on the right accounts that were your right buyers. I think to some extent that may be true, but the underlying thing is everything starts with who. It all starts with who are you talking to, right? Where are they in the journey? What industries might they be in? What types of companies do they work for? What role do they have at those companies? What keeps them up at night, right? Those are all very different things. Me as the VP of demand gen, what keeps me up at night is very different from what keeps Mark up at night as it relates to like VP of content and community, right? They're not completely different. They're related, but the messaging that's going to resonate for both of us is going to be very different, right? Mm-hmm. I think Agreed. It all starts with you, but from there, Mark, then what?
Yeah, so I mean, there's 2 ways to look at this. You actually mind going back to that last one quickly? Like, so sure. This last view, when we talk about targeting potential buyers, because you hit upon ABM, account-based marketing, account-based engagement, experiences, whatever you want to call it, right? There's so many acronyms now just for account-based. It's all about thinking the who, and then it's like, what channel are you using to try to get that person's or that group's attention with, like, and it's probably multiple channels. And then what are you using as it's not the right word, Kate, maybe help me with this, like the bait, like the hook, the offer, like, you know, it's like.
What's the offer, right? What's the offer that's going to be compelling to me?
Align those things together, and you could use this framework for channel campaign alignment, account-based strategies. Just don't forget to always kind of go in this order of operations. Some strategies here would be use UTMs, right? Try to use a combination of third-party and first-party data and focus on the outcomes. I think the other thing, Kate, is like we don't sometimes focus enough on both sets of outcomes. We're still optimizing just for our own outcome. Think about what the buyer, the customer is trying to do during that interaction as well. Put yourself in their shoes. Be that empathetic marketer.
Yeah,
the next
absolutely.
One, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kate. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say the next one goes to what you were just saying before when it relates to the customer journey, right? You have all of this data now at this particular stage. You're still focused very much on the who, but now it's like, how can I help that buying or that buying group move a little bit faster by further personalizing the experience? And this gets into true sales and marketing, not alignment, but I'm going to use the thing that you love talking about, Kate, action. You're acting as one team. Like this stage of revenue, you know, we call it acceleration maturity. Like this is not possible if your sales team, including your account executives, are not engaged with the buyers and have not transformed digitally. What do you want to add there, Kate? Because I know you love talking about them acting, marketing and sales acting together.
Yeah, I think one of the big mistakes that sales and marketing has made or is making is that they think that the whole problem is just that they're not aligned, right? They're not communicating enough, that they're not aligned. So we have to solve this alignment problem. The real problem that sales and marketing are making is that they're not actioning together. Is that marketing is off, actioning one way, and sales is off, actioning another. And the reality is that those actions need to come together. So that what are you going to do when Oracle hits your website today? What is marketing going to do to drive a really engaging experience that is relevant based on who they are and where they are in the journey? And what is sales going to do when they reach out either in that same session after somebody responds to that engaging experience you provided, or after that, right? In order to sew those two things together. And how are you acting together on that? That's the key difference, right? Because what I'm telling you right now, no CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, VP of Sales on the planet is ever going to be like, oh, Oracle's on the website? Maybe we'll get back to them in a few weeks, right? Like, no, like those folks are drooling, right? That you finally got, marketing did all the hard work that it takes to get them there. And now you've got to action them there together, right? So marketing, you've got to provide the greatest hook possible. And sales, you've got to provide a really engaging chat experience while they're there too, that makes somebody want to speak with you.
I love it. And so we have some good examples, I think, coming up, don't we?
We have quite a few, Mark, quite a few great examples here. This first one is how do we create a personal experience for your target accounts, right? So here's a prime example of what I was just talking about as it relates to actioning marketing and sales together, right? And so this is that exact example I was just giving you, right? Here you can see we're greeting that target account with a message from the dedicated rep, and we acknowledge that they have been here before. Hey, Sophia, you're back. I see you work for Turner Technologies. I think you would be a great fit for AppLinks. Our solution is built for large enterprises like yours with a distributed marketing team. Is your team struggling to manage your access to all your marketing systems, right? This is what I'm talking about. Here's marketing actioning and creating an engaging experience. And then on the right side of this screen, you see exactly how sales is going to start to action it, right? Because at the same time, Alex Hanbury and our team is getting an alert that says Turner Tech is on your website right now. They are on blog.applinks.com on the future of BPM for corporate America, right? Oh, guess what? They're back. They're looking at plans and pricing. Gosh, imagine that. Like now then we are truly actioning things together between sales and marketing. It's not a different silo. I don't have to wait until tomorrow to notify this rep that AppLinks was on the site.
No chance.
The next,
and I just think, Kate, like with that one, like we have to make sure people understand this is with an account executive. This is not sales development. Of course, sales development could use this. That last one was account executive using live chat, using notifications as a way to engage in real time. Like, just gotta stress that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But okay, Mark, so now let's talk about enabling real-time SLAs, right? And let your team respond ASAP. So here's another example. It's like alert your team when the account's on the website, have a human jump into the conversation, right? So in that previous example, right, we've got a target account. It's a named account. Some people call them, or switch back and forth between target and named, but where we alerted that account executive, right? Because he or she has been hunting down Turner Technologies. Here's an example where you can have your sales development team alert the team, hey, this account's on your website, and have a human jump in. We can't wait to show you conversational marketing, how conversational marketing can increase your website conversion rate and provide your experiences with a great experience, provide your customers with a great experience. What are you interested in using Drift for, right? What did we do right there? We got their use case. I don't know too many forms that are capturing that level of information, right? Because why? Because you're so afraid to add yet another field to that form because you've already asked them for their first name, for their last name, for their email, for their phone, for their company name, for their all these other things. And now we're able to see, like, look, you're here. What problem are you trying to solve? So that then when that person does jump into that conversation, whoa, now he or she has a lot more data to start to really strike up a strong conversation with you.
It's the sell from anywhere movement. It really is. It's like you can use that one. If you had a mobile phone and the ability to do that via mobile, which you can with Drift, just a quick plug, you'll get that notification, and selling never sleeps. Marketing never sleeps. So like you got to do it at any point where there's some type of engagement with that potential buyer. This one, Kate's really interesting, keeping the website experience consistent with the email. So it was about 3 to 4 weeks ago, I got an email from one of my favorite research firms, organizations, CB Insights. I'm sure some of you folks follow CB Insights. A lot of data, a lot of information. So I'm going through this newsletter. So I get the newsletter. So that's the email. So if you click to the next one, please. I think it's a build. I think it's an animation, Kate. Perfect. Thank you. I click on the link. I go to the company's website, and what do I see, Kate? I see an experience on that website page that says, hey, Mark, thanks for coming over from whatever the newsletter name was. There's a specific name. What did you think of this month's newsletter? Like that is awesome stuff. I clicked into that and I was like, oh yeah. So then that actually directed me, after going through a couple questions, it directed me to another piece of content, another research report I had no idea existed, and I started to consume that thing. So it goes back to that model of targeting potential buyers. Who is it? what channel are you using, and what's the offer, and just aligning those things down. And then plus you get what you just showed, Kate, the real-time experience on the sales side. If I was a target account for CB Insights or worked at a target account, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, this next one, making webinar registration personal and free of friction. It's so true. So what's the most common thing? I get invited to so many webinars just like this one. And what most of them are doing is they already have my email address because they've sent me an email invite. And then they follow up with me and shoot me and then send me over to a landing page that is a form, right? Asking me for more information. And so then I go through and I get to fill out this form, even though they already had that data. I just gave them repetitive data already in there. When the reality is that you can do something as simple as this, even within the email, which is yeah, I'd like to register. And it's perfect. Here's George's bot. Congrats, you're all registered. You're ready to go. But Mark, Andrew's getting the hook out. We gotta power through this, and we gotta keep this party moving. So, I think the other channel though that's really hot right now, virtual events, and making sure that you keep that entire event lifecycle in mind. So, how are you thinking about things from a pre-event strategy? How are you building the anticipation up to that event? How are you building the anticipation up to any of the events that you're going to have within and around the actual event? Once you get there, how are you executing the day of that event, right? And again, we're talking virtual because that's all there is right now. But how are you executing on the virtual side of that? And then after they have that experience, after they have that amazing event experience with you, how are you following up? What's your post-event strategy, right? What's the follow-on strategy there? That's a big one. I think this is an amazing example of how Adobe was able to create an amazing event experience that drove 500,000 attendees. And 500,000 attendees in a scale like that for an event like that, you and I both know that agenda starts to feel like a spider web. It's you can go in this direction, and this direction. And guess what? Now these people don't have a staff member that they're running into a hallway when somebody's looking lost, being like, hey, can I help you get somewhere? But better than that, Mark, what do they have?
They have something that is always there to help you with any type of question you might have about that event. They got real-time personalization and conversation happening. Look at that, right inside that experience, Kate. And you could connect with a human through that experience too. There's no friction. There's no waiting. It's seamless. And I'd say one last thing with the event, Kate. If you're doing a customer event on the virtual side, which many more of us are doing now, you better make that thing super easy for your customers. You know who they are. If you have them fill out a form to sign up for a customer event, I would say that's crazy, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You've done all of the work. And we talked about, all of the differences between, or we have talked a lot over the last 5 years that Drift has existed, is capturing somebody when they're at the point of highest intent. And what intent is even better than you actually gave me your time, your most precious asset, to attend days of content potentially, or hours long content. And guess what? Now let's engage them here. Let's engage them now, right? But Mark, we touched on this earlier. Customer journey doesn't stop at sale, right? It keeps going. Yep.
Yeah. I just think that the quick hit on this one is go through those customer interactions that are key to you making sure your customers are getting to value fast, or growing their value, and are on the path to renew. And if for some reason, when there is an issue, when they have a question, when they have a support issue, when maybe there's a point of contact turnover, you are creating a digital experience to address those things, that's seamless, that's fast, that's personal, etc. Start with well, actually, I don't want to say start. For some businesses, this is the place you should start, because for some businesses, 50+% of the revenue are coming from existing customers. So just look at your revenue plan, look to see where the revenue is going to be coming from, and then optimize from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So key takeaways, we're in the final mile here, right? Key takeaways are that companies are adapting digital at an accelerated rate, 6 months in 6 years, folks. I mean, 6 years in 6 months. That's not acceleration. That's something way more powerful than it. That's like lightning fast, right? At an accelerated rate, and customers are looking for personalized experience. Number 2, Mark, what do you got?
Marketing has a job of creating a journey that's personalized across the entire experience. Everything I just mentioned. Do not forget that, and you need to be a partner with your sales team.
So, and then number 3, as the buying journey goes digital, you need to make sure that you're recreating better experiences online than they would have had in person. Like creating the same, taking analog and making it digital is not enough. You need to be rethinking, reinventing, make it better, make it the best.
Make it the best, and if you don't create these experiences that are real time and personalized, you're just not listening to your customers. Because everything we talked about today with all that data, that's what customers expect. That's what they want. You got to do it. There's really no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't get left behind. Really rethink, secret shop your website, secret shop your experience. Do not get left behind. I don't want you to risk a slowdown or God forbid, losing any of your existing revenue. If you want to hear more from way smarter people than Mark and I on our team, the folks that wrote this State of B2B Buyer and Customer Experience book, it's absolutely incredible. It goes into much further depth here than what we've covered today. It's outstanding. Can't say enough about it. We partnered with our friends over at Customer Gauge, and we talked out to 100 more B2B companies to assess the state of buyer and customer experience. You can figure out how you stack up when you get the report today, and that's where you can find it. Thank you so much for spending the last hour or so with us. We hope that this was incredibly valuable to you, and that everybody stays safe and stay healthy. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. As you can tell, Kate and Mark are both passionate and well-versed in this topic. And this, as they pointed out, is not something that's going to be a temporary shift. This is really long-term. So, Mark and Kate, I want to get at least one question in before we wrap up the hour here. We had a bunch come in. We won't get to too many of them because we're tight on time. But we had a question from Tara. How do you measure the effectiveness of your buyer journey? Because the title of this was about buyer journey. Are there specific metrics you find more useful than others? Give me kind of a rapid fire answer there, if you would.
Yeah, I think that I would measure the effectiveness of that journey by your conversion rates within your funnel. So how are you doing with traffic? How's that converting into the number of leads, campaign responses that you're getting? How are those leads or campaign responses that you're getting transferring into like actual marketing qualified leads? I'd look at all those conversion rates, but I'm a big data nerd. But I think the biggest thing would also be around, and so I always have to balance myself out between the data and the stories and the words of the customers. And I can't personally listen to enough of our sales calls, and we use Gong for that. And it's incredibly insightful to understand how people talk about how they found you, what they are telling the sales rep they think that you can help with, all of those things. Those are the 2 ways that I would look at that, Andrew.
I'll give one more, and we're starting to do a lot more of this at Drift. Do a win-loss study, with your customers. The deals that you won, but the deals that you lost, that can inform a lot of what just Kate said too in the second piece, along with just like looking at the data in a more specific, maybe sometimes more actionable way. So I think those 3 things, got to do them.
Awesome. All right, thanks. As always, outstanding content, really actionable. So thanks, Kate and Mark. Always enjoy working with you guys. We didn't get to some questions. I'll ask Kate and Mark to follow up with you guys directly. Quick reminder for everybody, the next session in the series is about ABM hacks, how to beat the holiday slump and win in 2021. That's at November 16th at 2 p.m., so hopefully you can tune in for that. Thanks again to Kate and Mark. Thanks everybody for joining us, and be sure to go back and look at any session you missed on demand. Otherwise, have a great day, everybody.
So long.